Japan, you gotta turn the horniness down. Are y'all a bunch of Iseis? Because I'm pretty sure at this point you probably are. Actually, I did ban this one, so maybe you're not as bad. But then you banned it under false pretenses? So what's going on, guys? It's your boy Jason Vice4 here. And this is the most weirdest video I've thought to do. And I'll give you a little bit of a backstory and what behind this video. So I remember a little while ago I was looking through some videos and I remember a lot of people was talking about different anime and stuff that's like banned and whatever, like not too long ago, and I said I'll have a go, except I won't do anime because everybody's done that type of video. I'm gonna do manga instead. And I'm thinking, oh man, this manga is gonna be the most messed up manga I've ever seen. The most brutal manga I've ever seen. Because it's gonna have a lot of violence, it's gonna have a lot of other stuff, you know, I'm ready for whatever. Bring it on. And as I found out what manga it is, as soon as I heard the name, I flew out of my seat. And I was just like, I was expecting anything? I wasn't expecting this though. And before I tell you the title of this manga, I'm gonna absolutely ask you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Also, Twitter, follow me there, and TikTok as well. Because after this video, if I find more stuff like this, you probably want to stick around. So whenever that day comes, you're gonna be ready for it. So go ahead, subscribe. Plus, we've been sitting here for the 200 mark for a little while now. It would be nice to get up to like 300 to 400 to 1,000 about now. So please go ahead and help me out with this. But anyway, this is the manga here. If I can show it, I will show it. If I can't, you probably could get why. But this manga here called Okusama wa Shogakuse. And the translated name to this manga is, and I wish I was joking, and I'm gonna paraphrase one word, it's My Wife is an Element Student. I think you know what element means in this type of context. Wow. Why? Okay, I see the ball game that's being thrown my way, Japan. I see how it is. But anyway, yeah, as you can kind of think what this is going to be about, it's weird. It is weird. But anyway, so basically the premise of this story is essentially Japan is having birth rate issues with no one really trying to, you know, reproduce and whatever. And essentially they need to fix that problem, you know, something like that in the real world. Like, that's kind of like a real world problem too. You know, Japan's not doing that much populating and stuff. They're still populating, just not as much as you would think. But when it comes down to it in this manga, they just like, the prime minister is just like, you know what? To make sure that this works, we need to run a test. We need to make sure that this is going to work to increase the amount of population of our people. So instead of doing something normal, like, I don't know, I guess whatever you consider normal, like actually just persuading people to you know, reproduce or, you know, clone, I guess, if you're gonna go that evil route. But they decided, you know what, the best option is to pair a teacher with a student. Oh, like, we haven't heard the stuff like that before, except this teacher is 24 and she is 12. What? Okay, so, huh? I don't confusing me. Honestly, at this point, I would rather have Kali just to come out of nowhere, slice me down real quick, than Kiara to bring me back with a phoenix. What is this? I need a legit phoenix down for this one right now. So yeah, as you can kind of tell, this story is gonna go on a crazy route, and it did, and it pretty much showed anything that it wanted to. It didn't show like exactly everything though. It did censor parts out, but it was in the stuff that, you know, the scenes where it did show something explicit, it was changed. Instead of like, you know, what the thing is when you do for a certain reproducing action, then they changed that to like bananas and cherries and stuff like that to, you know, change how the process of the manga went. And there's pretty much a lot of stuff. I mean, the girl is completely into it. She was completely like consenting and all of that. And the teacher was like the only one that was like, hold up, we can't be, this is weird. Why we gotta do this? This is kind of weird. And she always keep referring to the textbook that the prime minister that gave to her, talking about, oh, but the prime minister said this book supposed to teach us to do this and that, and the teacher is having none of that whatsoever. Although he do be having weird thoughts, and it makes it no better that they had to keep this marriage a secret, and they also had to, you know, be a teacher and student relationship, which also means that he teaches at her school and at her class. Basically, and then it gets even more weirder because they have other students that try to get in with the teacher, same freaking elements, just like her, and then, you know, they try to do their best by talking about like, oh, our breasts are starting to grow in and all that weird stuff. It was just like, huh? What is happening here? And then for whatever reason, because this is the same person that made Icon, one lolly came in and then had a huge chest and bumped into the teacher. I'm thinking at first, I was like, oh, this is like the same tactic as women do when they be trying to stuff their bras with something to make it look bigger. You know, I've seen this type of tactic before. But no, that was actually her chest. It was actually that big. What? So yeah, it's strange. It is strange. And of course, within the 3 chapters that this manga produced before it got banned, it actually did, like, you know, showed a lot of explicit scenes with the main girl being, you know, maybe dressed up in a naked apron. Maybe she's dressed up with nothing. Maybe she has, I don't know, a school swimsuit on. That, you know, that type of thing. And, you know, that's how it is. That's just how it is. Even with the last chapter, when they talk about her punishment, because she did, I don't even remember what she did. She did something. And then basically, she's telling us she needed punishment. And the obvious scene happened with bananas and everything as substitute. But then after that scene happens, she's just like, oh, my punishment is actually just pulling weeds. I'm like, what? So you just gave me that scene for nothing. You gave me that scene just to create some BS, really. And that was, again, it's a short read. It's 3 chapters. You can literally go out and read it if you want to, which is none really too extreme. But it is like, which is, I mean, it does show stuff, but it's like, you know, it kind of censors itself out. And within those 3, and again, those 3 chapters are the only 3 chapters that was ever made, because again, it got banned. And even though you think it's for an obvious reason, it kind of got banned under false pretenses. And I actually did a bit of research with this one, so buckle up. So anyway, even though as crazy and explicit and as literally one part of the dang manga has a literal cover of her just covered in freaking cherry blossoms and nothing else on, it was actually banned under false pretenses. Back in 2010, 2011, you may have heard of a man named Shintaro Ishihara who was in the government, who is like 88 at this point. 10 years ago, he made this bill in Japan called Bill 156, which is a very vague bill in itself, which states, or the gist of it really is, that if it depicts any type of sexual activity with, you know, even fictional lollies and all that type of stuff, then obviously you can't like sell it or do anything with that type of work. You can't even relabel it to be 18 plus, so you can try to get away with it. So basically you're pretty much screwed if you have something like, go out of your way to make something like this. Which at one point in the argument I can get it, but there is another big part of the argument that is very stupid and very more logical than the normal part of the argument, which is, and a lot of people hated this bill. Even the creator hated this bill. The same person that made Icon, Seiji Matsuyama, he made this, and even though I couldn't literally find this manga anywhere because, you know, it's banned, and plus I can't even find it on Wikipedia, which that's kind of crazy. When it comes down to it, he was pissed off because the way it was banned. Because what they did was there were 6 books that Ishihara put up on television, and you know how they had to do the whole television thing, and they showed the book off and said they put tape over it just to like cover the explicit scenes, even though the tape made it look worse than it actually was. Even though it's pretty showy, even though it shows a lot of stuff, it looks worse than it actually did, and it actually made it a lot stupid, you know, to actually ban it under this type of way. Kind of like how Australia tried to do with SAO and No Game No Life and all that other stuff. So basically, Japan was ahead of its time before Australia even had the same idea. So yeah, and again, a lot of people was against this, same way people were against this in Japan, in Australia, and it got passed. The bill got passed along with other mangas that got banned, and of course, the person that made the manga we just discussed was really pissed off about this. Obviously, who wouldn't be? And I get it what the bill was trying to do, but still, the bill is kind of crazy itself. I mean, there is plenty of anime that came across over the years that has plenty of weird, raunchy stuff that pretty much has it in it. And really, even though you may not agree with the contents of the manga, it still shouldn't have been banned. That's just me. Mainly because it's like, what if you took Redo a Healer, which is #1 trending in Japan, mind you. What if you took Redo a Healer and then add the same effect to that law and bill? Because, you know, it showed, or some new type of bill that shows, that be talking about like, oh, you can't show any type of McDonald's rapé or anything like that in this country anymore. What if it had to stop all of the serialization, all the publication, all the, you know, episodes right then and there because that couldn't be acceptable anymore? Of course, you'd be pissed. Of course, I get it. And this is pretty much the same situation with this manga as well. It shouldn't have been banned under these type of, you know, in this type of way. It shouldn't have been banned in general, honestly, even though it's a bit weird. But then it also got me thinking as well too, because I'm just like, if this bill is still in effect to this day, 10 years ago, then wouldn't this mean that anime had to change? And now that I'm thinking about it, there is not any anime or manga, like legit anime or manga, that shows lollies or any type of kid and basically put them in any type of weird explicit situation. I can't think of one on top of my head. But then when I'm thinking after that bill passed, I'm like, oh wow, it makes a lot of sense now. Let's take a show like Miss Yumino, for example. How Clumsy You Are, Miss Yumino, because that was a recently aired show, like maybe 2 years ago. And basically, when I was trying to look up on the wiki, because I'm like, they look like lollies and shotas to me. Let me see what this looks like. Let me see if I can pull up their age. I cannot pull up their age. I don't even think the anime explicitly gave them an age. And I think it's for the obvious reason, to dodge the bullet of that 156 rule. Just because, and I was reading off on Reddit too, just because they make one law like happen in Japan, does not mean that they intend to enforce it crazy. I went even more thinking, and I was like, wait a minute, now I'm thinking about it, there's plenty of other shows that has like, or a character is looking like a lolly, even thinks like one, or even have lolly features, but then they're not specifically that. Like something like Miss Koyabashi Dragon Maid. Like Kana, we know Kana is like all lolly, you know, we already know this type of stuff. However, she's a dragon, and then like she's not really a human, so that kind of doesn't count, and her age is, I think, weird. Kana doesn't count. Then you also have stuff like another character like Tatsumaki, who looks like a kid but is not. She's 28, or however old she is, the green thick waifu of Tornado and Winds. Like, we already know she is like not a kid. We already know it. She even confirmed it in the anime herself. Then you have characters like La Brava, you know, looks kind of like a lolly, even possibly sound like one, but then when you really look at it, they're not. And she's like 20 something. And you know, the list kind of goes on. I was even going so far as to even look at the actual marriage age in Japan, which I believe the actual age to get married legally, the lowest you can possibly go with some parental guidance on it, is 16, which is a bit, one, that's kind of weird. That's just kind of weird in general. Then again, America do weirder stuff because people in some countries can get married in 13. Why? Massachusetts? I think that's the one place. Massachusetts, you're being weird. Anyway, I was thinking about Shinobu from Monogatari, and she can turn into an adult, so that doesn't really count. I was even thinking about Konako Tojo, but I was like, wait, my baby girl can actually change her appearance, and then, like, you know, she's not human. So, even though the anime gave her an age, it doesn't really matter. Plus, she's really close to that parental marriage age anyway in Japan, so, you know, it doesn't really technically matter. So, my baby girl Konako is safe. When it comes down to it, that's probably the reason why there's a lot of characters that look like lollies, but are not, and they just basically try to get over that rule as any way they can, which is very interesting to know. I didn't even know this rule even existed. But honestly, overall, since we know now in the modern day era that characters like Shinobu, Tatsumaki, even let's put Tanya on this list because she was a guy at one point, an adult male, and then, you know, turned into a woman later down the line. Even with stuff like this, all that combined together, we see more characters like them in the modern day era even more now, to avoid that little rule of what 156 bill was about in Japan. If this is the case, and even though this manga was pushed to be banned with 6 other books, even though that might be the case, this probably means, this is kind of mind-blowing to me, this manga here has to be the reason why all of those characters exist now. Possibly means that this manga that we just covered single-handedly just changed the anime industry 10 years ago. What? How has no one talked about this? This is literally groundbreaking. This was a groundbreaking thing. No one has, I don't think anybody talked about this. Or at least, I haven't yet to see anybody big to talk about this. This is single-handedly now one of the most informative anime videos on YouTube so far. This manga is how it was banned under false pretenses, because it was banned wrongfully. This manga single-handedly changed anime characters with looks like lolly characters but are not lolly characters, or have some type of mix-up to get around that law. This manga single-handedly changed those type of characters forever. And while characters like this have existed before that law even passed, this manga from this point forward, from 2010 or 2011, from that point forward, changed the anime industry to make sure that they can still that creators can still do whatever they want, to make sure that they can still tell the story as long as outside of what that rule says.
Because pitiful children are the most powerful, don't you think?
And with all that being said, that's the end of this video. Honestly, this is probably the most interesting video I ever made. This is probably one of my more important videos too. The Is It Okay to Loot a Lolly character is another important video, but this might be my most important video to ever make. So hopefully you got some enjoyment out of this. Hopefully you was informed about this, because again, I haven't seen anybody talk about this type of manga, this banned manga, and everybody kept talking about anime, but I haven't seen anybody talk about manga, so there we go. I'm the first one to do it, I guess. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this one. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Cash App is available below. Let me know your comments about this and any of this at all in general. Leave it in the comment section as well. And until then, this was your boy Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.
Baby, say my name as if you got a fucking clue. Always caught up in the moment, not condoning what I do. I've been messing with my chemistry to find the better me, putting thoughts up on the page in hopes that you could get to me. Been this way since legit, my brain couldn't quit. Running from my issues, roll the pain in a spliff, fade away every hit. Nobody needed me, too afraid to commit.